If you're as old as me, you'll recognize these legends that are showing up on your screen right now. The thing is, all of these old men who are now past their prime are popping off this season, and I'm gonna make the case that all three of them are benefiting from the shortened season that was 2020. How? Well, you're gonna have to watch the rest of this video to find out. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a like, and I hope you consider subscribing. Cool, let's go. If I asked you to name the player from 2013 to 2017 who hit for the 8th most doubles, 15th most hits, 17th most RBI, 25th most home runs, and 28th most runs, who would you guess? Maybe Paul Goldschmidt, or Anthony Rizzo, or even Nolan Arenado? Nope, the answer isn't any of these guys, but actually one of my personal favorites and my former favorite player in Major League Baseball, Evan Longoria. He, along with Goldschmidt, Rizzo, and Arenado, was one of only 4 players who in this time span hit for 130 or more home runs and 175 or more doubles. Longoria is 35 now. He is no young blood anymore. But if you go to his Baseball Savant page, he's having a career year. If you can name a player with a more pretty Savant page, leave it in the comments down below and I'll look at it. I mean, he's elite in basically every single underlying hitting statistic, and take something like hard hit percentage, where he's literally the best hitter in this category. 62.5% of all the balls that he puts into play are hit with an exit velocity of 95 miles per hour or higher. That's crazy! But I think the most telling statistic for Longoria this season is his walk rate, which is really high at 15.2%. What this says about Longoria is that he is seeing the ball extremely well. His chase rate is lower than usual, and I think this is partly because of the short 60-game season last season. Ever since Longoria came over from the Rays to the Giants, he hasn't been terrible. He definitely hasn't been the player he was in Tampa, but he's no scrub to say the least. But the thing that he's battled with, especially from 2018 to 2019, is a whole bunch of injuries. And these injuries always seem to come at the middle of the season, and this is terrible for him. Just imagine for yourself, like your boss comes up to you one day and is like, hey, I need you to take a month break. You can't touch your work, but when you come back in a month, I expect you to be doing exactly as well as you were doing before. That already sounds difficult in itself, but turn that up a notch and let's say your job involves you hitting a 100-mile-per-hour fastball. Now I can't do that. In the 9 games he played in July right before his injury, he was playing at an elite level, and then he gets injured and the rest of his season really isn't the same. I think by having a shorter season, Longoria extended his career a little bit, and he's now been able to recover, and hopefully his body will be able to withstand one more 162 game season, because I love seeing him perform. If he continues to see the ball this well, I think there's a chance that he might lead the Giants to another playoff run, but then I also realize that it's not an even year, so that's not going to happen, but I love me some Longoria. Now this next player we'll talk about is one of the friendliest faces in Major League Baseball, Yadier Molina. Up until his injury this season, among catchers with at least 60 plate appearances, Yadier Molina was 3rd in batting average, 8th in home runs, and 5th in RBI. Isn't that crazy that this 38-year-old is just popping off this season? But I'll be a little honest, I don't know if there's a direct correlation between his performance this season and a shortened season last season. But I will say this, Yadier Molina's approach/swing has changed a little bit. If you compare his hot zones from last season to this season, look at that low and outside pitch. Molina is hitting it significantly better this season. Now let me show you 2 examples of this. Laid side by side right now are 2 different moments that Yadier Molina got a hit on a low and outside pitch. One from last season and one from this season. And if you notice, all of his momentum last season on this pitch is going towards right field. All his power, all his intent is going towards right field, and that's why he falls over. But this season, his power, his momentum, he's falling over towards the mound. All of his power is going to center field, to the gaps, and I think that's a stark difference in approach. I think if he can keep this up, maybe he doesn't hit for 300, but he'll definitely have a better hitting season than last season. And if this is his last season in Major League Baseball, then I'm thankful that he gets to go out on a bang. Now for the last player, we had to include a pitcher, right? When I was young, J.A. Happ was just a young kid playing on the Philadelphia Phillies. But now he's turned into a 38-year-old man who currently, subtly, has a better ERA than Trevor Bauer, Tyler Glasnow, Yu Darvish, and even Shane Bieber. Among pitchers who have thrown at least 25 innings this season, he has the 8th lowest ERA. And he's 38 years old. This guy's a grandpa who's like the second coming of Jamie Moyer. But the reason why he's in this position to begin with is because of the shortened season last season. In 2020, he had a pretty solid season with the Yankees. But I think the biggest reason for his performance last season was just the fact that it was a small sample size. Again, the man's 38 years old, and if you look at his fastball velocity through the seasons, it's slowly been decreasing. And if you look at his 2019 season and compare his ERA through the months, it progressively gets worse. And I think we could put this all together to say that he doesn't have the arm that he had when he was a kid anymore. He gets tired, and as the season progresses, he is less effective. But because of the small sample size, he came off as looking pretty good. And that performance is partly why the Minnesota Twins decided to sign him this season. But that's not the full reason. The other half of this story includes a man named Jake Odorizzi. Now in 2019, Odorizzi had an all-star season, and so in 2020, he signed a huge one-year deal with the Minnesota Twins. But he had so many dang injuries that season, and he only pitched 13.2 innings. And it wasn't a good 13.2 innings. So the Twins started wondering, like, what can we really expect out of this man? He had a really great season, and then he just couldn't stay on the mound. And so they were hesitant to sign Odorizzi, especially early on in free agency, which left the space for J.A. Happ. And this is important because it led J.A. Happ to having some of the easiest matchups to begin the season. If you look at the teams that he's pitched against this season, 4 out of those 5 teams are in the bottom half of the league in runs per game. They're atrocious. And if you look at J.A. Happ's StatCast, it shows that J.A. Happ might not actually be doing that well this season. He might just be facing some really bad opponents. Basically what I'm trying to tell you is he's having a really great season so far, but I don't know if it should be expected. If he keeps a sub 2 ERA for a 162 game season, I will be very, very, very surprised. But hey, all to him if he can do it. I'm just thankful that I get to witness part of my childhood coming back to life again. Cool, that's all I really have to say. If you like the video, you should subscribe because honestly, I think the content's pretty dope and I think you're dope. So yeah, that's that.